The greatest privilege I have is in listening to the stories of men and women coming out of homosexuality. Many have never shared their stories with any other person, and we're honored that they've given us their trust. Come with me as we explore voices of the silenced, the stories of those who journey, those who support them, and those exploring the contribution that they have made in today's world.
Christianity changed Europe completely. I mean, what we see now is the result of the Christian faith. Even Roman law, which became important later on in the history of Europe, was actually Christianized Roman law.
We're at a stage at the moment in our history in Western civilization when some voices are being silenced.
I use the term sexual politics to describe the rise of feminist politics and more recently homosexualist politics. It's very striking that in the last 40 years or so, the elephant in the room in the Western world has been this rise of sexual politics.
Where are we going to start? We don't have any moral or spiritual tradition that is acknowledged.
Had certain compulsive behaviours, patterns in my life, which had come to a head and had really started to interfere with my ability to function.
Ich bin vom Beruf Sozialarbeiter und mit dem Thema Homosexualität.
I began to feel very overly connected.
To become a pre-op transsexual woman. I was born a boy and I lived as a woman for a number of years.
So when I was around the age of 19, 20, I just finally opened up to a very good friend of mine. And we became very close very soon in our friendships and we really opened up to one another.
Eigentlich erleben, dass ich nicht dazugehöre, dass ich nicht angenommen bin bei denen.
And at some point, like, we started to become very dependent on one another emotionally.
Desires to be close to men, but he's afraid to be close to men. And that tension is resolved in fantasy through sex.
So this was a whole new world, and I was very...
Facing Europe today is what he calls
Ich heiße David und ich bin 44.
I wish that I had been able to access much earlier.
We started to become very dependent on one another emotionally.
And I have a deep heart for people now who are in my situation, who need help.
For some people, homosexual practices just haven't satisfied their longings. And this is a group of people who resist the idea that homosexuality is normal. Voices of the Silenced allows them a safe space to be seen and to speak their truth. They speak against a backdrop that's often hostile and which misunderstands their motive in sharing their stories. People from all over Europe, America and Africa have allowed us to film them. And here are some, by no means all, of their faces. you support these folk, encourage them, pray for them, and walk with them? The other great thing about the past 2 years in making our films is in meeting people all over the world, people perhaps like you, who want to be part of the message of hope and freedom that respects the rights of men and women to choose to leave homosexuality and live life in a way that's true to their own values. So please be introduced to just some of those who have risked career and reputation for truths that you may well identify with. One of the things that I'm learning, especially over the past 2 years, is that there's nothing new under the sun. All that the sexual revolution allures the world into today began its march long ago. The Greco-Roman world was a pansexual society. Pansexual meaning sexual expression irrespective of gender. This was the norm for married and single people among the ancients. But it was the ancient teachings of the Jewish people and their sexual ethics that underpinned their society that successfully challenged the Greco-Roman world. Judeo-Christian values became the foundation of Western civilization that rejected pansexuality. And today, as our nations now reject Judeo-Christian values, we are seeing the re-emergence of Greco-Roman values through the sexual revolution as it once again promotes pansexual humanism. This is a revival in our times of a very ancient philosophy.
Voices of the Silenced remembers the Jews ripped from Jerusalem and surrounding Judea in AD 70, who were brought to Rome to build the Colosseum. Captivity meant their bodies and souls were now the property of their new masters. Filmed in 5 countries and more than 10 locations, including those destroyed by the Vesuvius eruption of AD 79, this work parallels the cultural captivity of the Jewish slaves and that faced by those silenced in the 21st century. Today, an imposed state orthodoxy celebrates homosexuality. It reaffirms the ancient idea of pansexuality that for many feels as foreign today as it would have to those taken into captivity in the 1st century. People have the right to walk out of sexual practices they find hurtful. Their freedom to do so needs to be defended. Professionals who help them change need to be protected. Voices of the Silenced calls attention to those in Europe and North America who today recognize the powerful ideologies that are taking us back to the ancient world of state control. This violates family rights and institutionalizes political control of the school, the courtroom, and the place of worship. It's not only Christians who succeed in finding their way out of unwanted addictive homosexual practices. That's why it's essential to protect every person's right to reject the new orthodoxy that says that homosexuality is to be normalized. The ancient Hebrews preserved and passed on a unique sexual ethic that was in opposition to the ethics of the surrounding nations. Will we be the generation that rejects this contribution, or will we throw off this captivity of Western culture? Will the Church recognize the new anti-Semitism that once again seeks to stamp out essential Jewish ethical teachings from the Scriptures, the professions, and in the public space?
Well, the people involved have been exceptional and a real pleasure to work with, but the places that we've visited and the beauty of our backdrops have been exquisite. Well, somebody has to do this work, and I'm sure glad I was one of them. We've had a great time visiting and filming these locations. We've also been hard at work building a website for voicesofthesilenced.com, and you'll be able to find some of the promos on that site that I've shown today, but also the faces and images of all those who either share their stories or who support the rights of these people Each has a short introduction to their individual interviews, and each leads to the second site that we're particularly proud of, voicesofthesilence.tv. We're also able to provide translations of some of the materials in several languages. If you'd like to see these promos again, or to see the interviews of more than 40 people who have been filmed, then go to voicesofthesilence.tv and sign up today. All you need is a valid email address, and every time new videos are released or an interview uploaded, we'll tell you if you've signed up. This is our very own online TV platform, independent of any other provider, dedicated to this work. So will you stand with us as we stand with those who value their freedom and the right to live in a way that's consistent with their own values? Stand with us on the Voices of the Silenced project, and check us out on Facebook and Twitter.